Our first guest is a senior from Heartland, Wisconsin. Molly Seidel recently became a two-time NCAA champion, as well as Notre Dame's first female to capture the NCAA cross-country championship and first overall since Oliver Hunter accomplished this feat way back in 1942. She also became Notre Dame's first individual national champion in the women's program history in the 10,000-meter event at the 2015 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships last spring. And Molly, we thank you for stopping by to chat with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You know, it's tough to get to be a two-time guest on this show, but when you win 2 national championships, it's, you know, what else could we possibly do? It's a great way to start the new semester to take a moment to reflect back on what was probably the singular most significant event in Notre Dame athletics last semester, which was you winning the cross-country championship. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Take us back there. Take us to race day, to your approach to it, and sort of go through the race with us a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just about as good of a day as we could have asked for. The weather ended up being pretty mild. We avoided any of the big rain that was supposed to be coming, and just having the whole team there was such a big factor in it. I don't know. It's one thing for NCAAs for track when I got to the line and you're at the national meet and you're nervous and there's so many people there, but having your 6 best friends there right on the line with you and knowing that they have your back is incredible. So being able to go into that race with that support and have so many people who weren't competing that day just from the team coming down to watch was a big factor as well. So it was a really special day.
Now, tactically, you went out pretty fast, right? I mean, you that was the game plan?
Yeah, it was. There's a ton of girls in that race, and so it's kind of like surfing a tidal wave. So I wanted to just get right out to the front and try and hold that position. And so I stayed up there, stayed a little bit conservative the beginning part of the race, and then about halfway in, we started breaking away and started having some fun.
When did this all start? When did you first know that you wanted to competitively run?
Probably beginning right around in middle school. My school didn't have any track team or cross-country team, but I knew I was pretty good at running. We ran in gym class. I ended up breaking the school record for the mile in 5th grade, just doing the fitness challenge mile in gym class. And so after that, I kind of knew that I had a little bit of a talent for it and convinced my mom to let me go out for my church track team. And just from there, kind of kept going with it.
What's an average week for you in terms of, I guess everything's measured in meters now, but how many miles do you think you run a week?
Typically, I'm anywhere from about 75 to 95 miles a week, depending on the training or the meet schedule that week. And it's just usually 2 runs a day, and you just kind of get used to it. And I love being able to do the high mileage, and I'm blessed that my body can handle that pretty well. And so I don't know, it just becomes a day-to-day thing. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. You don't have to think about doing it anymore. It's just something that you do every day.
In typical fashion for you in discussing your national championship, you talked about the team and the importance to you of having them there. It's not automatic that your team is there. The team has to qualify to be at the finals. And then you talked about we broke away. The we included a teammate, right, who hung with you for a bit there, right, and had a high finish herself.
Yeah, Anna had a fantastic, or Anna Rohr, who's a national champion coming out of high school, and she's had a fantastic freshman season. She ended up placing 6th at nationals just this past November, and so it was really cool being able to have her there right at that lead pack. And she actually went out and was very aggressive from the beginning. Was actually leading the race for maybe the first quarter of a mile. And being able to see her have such a spectacular first race at nationals was really exciting. And seeing how she's going to progress over the next couple of years, I don't know, it really makes me excited to see where the team is going. And not just Anna, we had a number of freshmen on that nationals team, and so it's going to be very exciting over the next couple of years.
Well, and they propelled the team to a pretty good finish, right?
Yes, it was our highest finish in a number of years. I don't know the exact number, but we ended up placing 8th, and so being able to get top 10 at nationals was very exciting. We were really, really pumped about that one.
One final question before we leave this remarkable achievement of yours. It strikes me there must have been a fundamental difference between your 2 championship races in that in the first one, notwithstanding a great performance at the ACCs, you weren't the favorite coming in. You know, there were others in that race that were expected to be the likely winners. This time you came in with a target on your back, right? I mean, everybody was focused on you. Did that create a different feeling for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a different feeling coming in. It's one thing to come in as the unknown in track, and then over just the past summer and the season having a lot more focus. It's definitely a different feeling to get used to. But luckily I kind of avoided a good brunt of that attention. So there were two other runners, Allie Ostrander and Dominique Scott, who kind of got most of the focus, and I kind of flew under the radar for a good portion of the season. So I didn't have to deal with too much pressure from that respect. But it was pretty different going to the day before the race. I got the chance to go to the press conference and having people ask and whether they think I'm going to win or not. It's I don't know. It's kind of dealing with that pressure, but also having coaches and teammates to be able to alleviate a little bit of that helps.
You know, because Auroras was from this area, everybody around here knew of her and had their fingers crossed that she would choose Notre Dame. She had a lot of great options. Talk about the relationship that you developed with her through that process, and what role you think you might have played in her wanting to run for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think we came from pretty similar standpoints. We both ended up winning Foot Locker Nationals our senior year, and she was probably the #1 recruit coming out of high school. And so it's a lot of pressure for a 17, 18-year-old kid to go through. And so being able to have come from that similar standpoint and know a little bit about that process, I think, I don't know, being able to give her advice on that during the recruiting process, I think maybe helped a little bit with her decision. And but ultimately, we were all just so excited when she chose ND, and I think it kind of just speaks to the girls on the team and the academics and athletics that we have here that she ended up choosing to come here.
Now, her goals have to be similar to what you have already achieved. So how are you now helping her increase her performance so that she can follow literally in your footsteps?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing we do with all the freshmen. It's just being able to help give them advice and help them get through the stresses of the first year. It's an enormous change from high school to college, and so being able to help alleviate any of those pressures that we can, giving them advice and using our own mistakes as examples for what they shouldn't do, whether it's class schedules or training and stuff like that is helpful. So just trying to help them in any way that we possibly can, and that's going to make the team stronger as a whole.
The experience of our distance runners is a little bit different than our other student athletes here, in that there isn't much of a season. You've got cross country.
Or there is the season, but it never ends.
It never ends. You've got cross country, you've got indoor, you've got outdoor, and now I would guess you also have a national calendar to pay attention to beyond Notre Dame. So how do you sort of manage all of this? How do you protect your body, prepare yourself for this elite level of competition?
Yeah, it can be difficult because, like you said, there's no off season really, and there's always basically every weekend there's a meet that you could potentially go to. And so a lot of that is Coach Sparks being able to look at our schedule and plan out exactly what meets we're going to run, and being able to work in periods of rest and recovery into that schedule so that we can have that longevity over the course of the year, because you need to peak a certain number of times for big races and get ready for those major events. You don't want to be racing every weekend. You don't want to be grinding yourself down too early in the season and then not be able to make it to May and June when those large races are. So a lot of that is just attributed to his smarts at planning it out, and just to ourselves to be able to hold ourselves accountable and be patient and make sure that we're getting that recovery so that we have that longevity.
What are the sort of the big events on the horizon for you?
So we'll have a number of home meets here. ND's got one of the largest indoor tracks in the country, so everybody comes to us basically. We've got a ND invite coming up in 2 weeks. I won't be racing, but we'll have a bunch of girls opening up in that race. We'll also have Mayo, which I will be opening up at, and after that, Alex Wilson to try and get a last chance qualifier for nationals. And then as well, we'll have ACCs out in Boston this year. And so that's going to be a major event. And hopefully, knock on wood, nationals in mid-March or so.
And you just mentioned facilities, and I think that's important. Obviously, this is a cold weather school, but for track and field, really some of the best facilities in the entire country, and they're getting better.
Exactly. We're actually going to be breaking ground this spring on a new outdoor track to kind of supplement our state-of-the-art indoor track that we also have, or our outdoor track stadium. I'm sorry about that. So it's going to be exciting to be able to have those new facilities. But yes, in terms of what we have here at ND, even though it can be cold and miserable outside, we're able to get in all the training that we need. We've got a 320-meter indoor track, which is bigger than just about anybody else has. And so it's fun being able to have all these large, notorious schools in track have to come to us.
Now, you talked about Coach Sparks. Can you talk a little about the relationship you've developed with him? You talked about how you sit down with him and plan when you should run so that you get the proper rest and can be at your best. But on a daily basis, what are your interactions like with him?
Yeah, we're seeing Sparks every day at practice. I'm probably up wasting more time in the office than I probably should. But just going there and being able to have open conversations with him about training, and it's a back and forth. He definitely likes getting our input. We have our training logs online that he's always making sure that we're updating. But so he's getting the feedback from us on how the training is working, and so then he can better plan that out. And so it's great being able to have that two-way conversation rather than just him telling us how the workouts are going to be. And if you don't like it, then too bad. He's always willing to adjust and experiment, and I think the success of that shows throughout everyone's performances just this past cross-country season and last year in track as well. So,
well, I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but I can't let you go without asking, are the Olympic trials a hope for this year, or is it?
Yeah, definitely a hope and a dream for this year. That's going to be one of my major goals, to try and get that qualifier to go out there in early July. So hopefully I'll be able to put together some good training and some good races to be able to get that. But it's definitely going to be a challenge. The U.S. is just absolutely loaded with talent, especially in the events that I'm hoping to go for, the 5K or the 10K. So it's going to be buckling down and just getting in that good, solid work to try and move from NCAA competition up that next step to the national scale.
Well, and thankfully, some of that talent is another ND former runner, another Molly, who's doing great. And I'd love to see both of you have great success this year and at the trials. Thank you so much for coming on and being with us. And I can't tell you how proud we are to have a two-time NCAA champion here at Notre Dame.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a minute.